Greetings, everyone. My name is Rashaki Maskani, representing the Community Education Network. We are a web-based educational organization that primarily focuses on self and collective improvement. We have a website, we have a YouTube channel, and we primarily are doing podcasting right now. And the two podcasts that we have weekly are Conscious Corner, which is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time with Professor Amara as the host. And on Wednesdays, we have the CEN show, which I am the host of that show. So those are weekly. And on our website is where anyone could access the show and be a part of it if they wish to. I will show that website in a little while. So now, Conscious Corner on Wednesday with Professor Amara primarily focuses on Black people. And he has been a professor for numerous years at Long Beach State in the Black Studies Department. He's now Professor Emeritus. I think he completed his tenure there in 2003, but he started in, I think, 1970. He was primarily the person responsible for the Black Studies program originating at Long Beach State. He is one of the founders of the program. And the CEN show is basically open for most subjects. And it's not primarily Black, but basically we have majority of our materials with Black people, but it's not primarily just Black. So now we also have started two additional podcast series. One of them is Message to the Black Diaspora, and the other one is Roots Reggae Reasoning Sessions. Both of those podcasts focuses on, Roots Reggae Reasoning Sessions focuses on talking about reggae and its significance throughout the years that it started and its continuance. And then Message to the Black Diaspora is focusing on highlighting prolific personalities to further spread the message of educating and basically significant information that will reach further because of the personalities that we are focusing on. We had 3 shows so far on Message to the Black Diaspora, and the first show was with Maulana Karanga, founder. Well, he's the chair of the Africana Studies Department at Long Beach State, and he's also the founder and creator of Kwanzaa. And most people know about Kwanzaa, which it occurs right directly after Christmas, and it focuses on 7 principles that are significant for anyone who applies them, but it's primarily a African American holiday or holidays, which extends across the world. And he was our first guest. The second guest was political columnist Mike Jones out of St. Louis, a dynamic guy that has plenty of personalities and does sports analogies for explaining political views, and an excellent commentary person. He was our second guest. And then our third guest was Mama Amicus, which is a person that lived in New York and went to Ghana, repatriated to Ghana, and started One Africa, which focuses on people going back to Africa, living, Blacks from the diaspora, and a dynamic person, an innovator. And I mean, it was just excellent information that she provided for us when it comes to repatriating to Africa. So that was our three guests for that series, podcast series. And then Roots Reggae Reasoning Sessions, we had also three shows. And we have a show coming up on Thursday. That information will be on the website, which is the 28th of August. And our first show with Roots Reggae Reasoning was with Klata Boombo. He's an excellent Roots Reggae artist from Jamaica, based in Rhode Island. Excellent reggae musician, singer, excellent content, just reggae the way I like it, which is the deep roots on the line of all of the greats, Bob Marley, Gregory Isaac, Dennis Brown, you name it. If it's a roots reggae artist that had great music, his music lines up. So I'm looking for great things coming from him moving forward. Our second show we did was the Reggae Beach Blast. Talked about the Reggae Beach Blast, which occurred in 1983. And we had Lester Farai was one of the panelists, along with Jen J. Dennis, the wife of Garth Dennis, may God rest his soul, and Mashariki Rainey. And they talked about that show that was put on back in 1983, which was an excellent show. A great lineup, and Lester Farai was a part of the band that backed Ecomouse. So it was a real good show. And then the third show we did was with Barbara Bear Benos, a promoter in Los Angeles and all through California. She was responsible for starting the Bob Marley Day, which turned out to be an excellent event year after year, with some of the best roots reggae artists, foundational artists. And it was just, I used to go every year, and it was excellent at the Long Beach Arena in California, Long Beach, California. And she was also a radio personality on a few different radio shows in Los Angeles. And we did a 3-part series with her because the show was very lengthy with all of the great information she provided. So that was the 3 shows we had with the Roots Reggae Reasoning Session, and next week we have a 4th one, and with more to come. And then Message to the Black Diaspora also, we're looking forward to having dynamic guests for that podcast series. So now what I want to talk about is an upcoming series that we're going to start, and it's going to be titled Born and Raised in Compton. And Compton is a very unique place. And I was born and raised there, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my history in Compton. And it's a dynamic place because at some point, well, it's located, it's called the Hub City. It's located in between 4 major freeways, and In Los Angeles, the 91 freeway, the 105, the 110, and the 710. And those are four major freeways in Southern California. And it's called a hub because it's like this, like a central point in the county of Los Angeles. And it's a great location. And back in the probably the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, it was a suburb that was populated by many excellent athletes, uh, musicians, and it just was a like a big time suburb in the county of Los Angeles. And then in the 60s, you started having a migration of Black people moving to Compton. And once that migration completed, the city was primarily Black. I mean, probably 90% Black. I don't have the exact figures, but it was all Black for a while. And then you started having these things about Black, the negative connotation towards the city of Compton due to some of the highlighted things that was happening. At one point it became a hub of a lot of gang activity, and then also when the crack cocaine hit, it also was victimized by that period of time, and then it started getting a lot of negative press, negative entertainment, and sort of got a reputation, and that reputation wasn't pleasing to me because when I used to turn on the TV some years ago, you would have sitcoms mocking the city of Compton. And I did not like that at all. It was very disheartening to hear about your city in that manner in which most cities, inner cities, had its issues. And it just seemed like Compton was being highlighted a lot. And I didn't care for that too much because we had basically great people coming out of Compton, just as well as other places. You have greatness, and then you'd have some things that are not so great. And I'm talking about that's in every community, even in the monetary affluent places. It has its negative things about it. And anytime you're living in the United States in a system of racism, white supremacy, you definitely anybody that upholds a system that does what it do to people in general, it couldn't be every place in this country can't be great. It's only great when everybody is thriving and people are being well taken care of. But when you have racism, which focuses on on people in colors, and I call it a color context strategic way of governing, and it places one race of people in a position of power and control, and the other ones are suppressed. And then you have people that are able to ascend to areas in the government or entertainment and all of that, but it's only a few, which is called showcasing. That's a term I learned from Neely Fuller Jr. You showcase two and three people out of millions of people to say that, oh, everybody can do this, which is not a true statement. But that's another conversation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about being born and raised in Compton, which it will be another podcast series that we're gonna do. We're gonna highlight people from Compton that was actually born and raised there or has been there for years. And and kind of talk about Compton. You know, that's I was born and raised there, so why not talk about it? And you get it from the horse's mouth, which will be more than one horse. And so, and you get different outlooks about the city and what it did and how it turned, you know, what it did for people and primarily Black people. But now, if you live in Compton, in which my parents and some of my family were still there, my mom is still in Compton. She just turned 90. I got sisters and brothers, nephews and nieces that's still there. And but the basically the city is predominantly Hispanic. I mean, a large population of Hispanics. And so I'll get to that a little bit later. But I'm gonna take you through the whole gamut of my life when it comes to Compton because I was raised there. And a lot of people know me by my other name, which I'm not going to mention, but on here I'm Rashaki Maskani, and that's a self-given name, which means upborn right dwellings, basically mean a person of justice. So I got a lot to do with my life, what remaining years I have, to uphold the name that I gave myself. So that's another subject also. But let me take you through. I'm gonna start with my childhood. Coming up in Compton when I was a child, and that was in the mid '60s. You know, I was born in the mid '60s and raised throughout the '70s and in the early '80s, and then I became an adult after that. So when I was a child, I came up in a two-parent home, and my father, he he was a person that made pretty good money. So it was seven of us. And by the time I came around, my oldest sister, she's 13 years older than me. She was basically, you know, when I came in, she was leaving out a few years later. So, and I'm the second to the youngest. I have a sister that's 3 years younger than me. And by the time she was born, my sister was basically out the house. But I would say primarily it was maybe five to six siblings in the house at a time because the older set of children were, as the young ones was coming in, they were on their way out because they were older. But we had a pretty close knit family, and we had our challenges just like any other family. And when I was a child, I had my older brothers and sisters, they really looked after me pretty good. And so I came up basically playing sports from about, I played organ. I started playing sports maybe at about 5, but I started playing organized sports in the 4th grade, which I was about, I guess, 10, something like that, 10 years old. And that's when I got into organized sports and I played football, basketball, and ran track. Baseball, I wasn't all that great in the beginning. I was great in all the other 3 sports, and I tried baseball, but it didn't work out. I wasn't able to hit the ball, like I wanted to. So I quit that and focused on the other sports. But I grew up in a neighborhood where sports was all over the place. We played football in the street. We played basketball at the elementary school when I was little. We played in people's backyards. I mean, it was just, I was sports enriched at that age from, early childhood until I got like in high school. And then I was well on my way to being a good basketball player. But as children, we had our challenges. We used to run up and down the street. We were looked after by the whole street. It was like, it was close knit back then. So, I grew up with Brother Mashinda. People may know him from our podcasting on the CEN show, and in the Conscious Corner, but he was older than me. I grew up with him and a few other guys, and we used to get into little, mischievous things, you know, and kind of disturbing adults a little bit at a young age. Just little, some people would call us little bad kids, but we were primarily playing sports all the time. And then in the 70s, the the gang activity kind of started getting real dangerous. I can recall times when one time I went up to Compton High. My brother was a senior in high school, and he's 10 years older than me. So he was 18, I was about 8, or 17, I was about 7 or 8. Went to a football game, and I got my first taste of being exposed to the impact of gang uh, activity. And when we went to a football game, my brother was saying, okay, now I want you to kind of we was walking to the football game at Compton High School. Once we landed there, it was some gang members, and my brother was just telling us to, make sure we stay with him and be careful, because you had these gang members. He really didn't say gang members, but I could see the his behavior kind of change, and he became very serious. So I know at that point I was a little boy. I was like, wow, this is something here. So that was my first, really, I think that was in 1972, 73. And that was a really, eye-opening thing for me at such a young age. And then when I start, when I was in elementary school, started learning about the gangs, because I played basketball and football and ran track. I really didn't gravitate to those type of activities, gang activities, but people around me were doing it. And I had a couple of instances where I ran across gangbangers and had to do certain things to make sure I was all right. But I never got involved. And I don't want to go into too many details because it'll be too lengthy. But gang activity was really hyped back then, from the early 70s, until clear into the 90s. And it was at some points it was real dangerous, and it affected everybody. And so when I was growing up, I played sports, and I was, matter of fact, one of the better athletes in Compton at the time. And I wind up, when I went to high school, I was one of the best players in the area, in Southern California. I was pretty good. And I wind up getting a scholarship to Washington State University, a basketball scholarship. So my childhood was really filled with sports, and, avoiding, a little, doing little mischievous things, as a lot of little kids do. We wasn't monitored 24/7. We were looked out. I mean, in the parks and recreation was a great place for us, where we played sports and we had activities, swimming and all of that. We had Wilson Park, Luthers Park, Gonzalez Park. Those are the three parks that I went to, and swimming was at Campanella Park primarily, because it was a county park, and that was in West Compton. And we used to go there take swimming lessons. Took swimming lessons at Wilson Park when I was about 5 years old, but they wind up closing that pool. And had swimming lessons early on at Campanella and Wilson Park. So we very interesting as a child growing up. You learn how to maneuver, and also a lot of competition. And One of my colleagues and friends I grew up with, uh, we it was something interesting that we had a discussion about. Um, at our workplace, we both of us are teachers in Compton, and I'm gonna talk about that. And it's like when we get confronted by anyone, because of where we were raised, we really not those type of people that back down off of confrontation. People confronting us, and even at the workplace, we kind of stand our ground unless we see we're at really a big disadvantage, and that's when you have to be able to switch hats from being this brave person to being a cautious person, so you won't, jeopardize yourself, your life, or anything. But one thing about Compton, folks, and you grew up in our era from the 70s to the 80s, we were pretty pretty tough in a sense where we didn't take too much mess, because you have to either fight or flight. And there's been plenty of times where I had to flight because I was outnumbered, but that's the way, it's called survival. So that was an interesting conversation we have. So about, being, you know, confronting confrontation. We're gonna not really backing down too much, but that's another conversation. So my childhood was pretty interesting. When I went to college, I went on a basketball scholarship, and I wasn't a student. I was a real good math student, but I wasn't too real good in other areas of academia, because I didn't have great study habits. And we talking about Compton here, so I went to college at Washington State University. Didn't do well academically. Did okay sports wise. Wound up transferring, coming back to Compton, going to Compton College, and I had to get an AA degree in order to transfer to Long Beach State and complete my basketball there. So I always did enough to play basketball, but my study habits wasn't great. And we talk about student athletes, and then we have a lot of athlete students. And I was considered one of those athlete students because I was primarily going to school because I wanted to play basketball. I have to be honest about that. But once I finished basketball, then things turned around academically for me. But as an adult being in Compton, we had some very interesting times because, you know, I was impressed upon by my environment at the time, and we did some things that we shouldn't have been doing throughout my, young adult life and college life, because a lot of us picked up the habits of drinking liquor, and then also, you know, the it's kind of a challenge to say this, but you know, messing with multiple women. So those type of things didn't keep a keep didn't keep me and some other people focused on the things we really need to be doing as responsible adults. And I paid for things that happened back then. When I transferred to Compton College, I got my AA, but I failed a class, which put me 3 grade points back of getting a scholarship. And so my first years at Long Beach State, my first year, I wasn't on a basketball scholarship, but I played on the basketball team due to, grades. Even though I had an AA degree, I got a certificate. And because I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, instead of studying, that cost me a year scholarship. So that was one thing that happened, and coming up that way, and learning how to do things that wasn't beneficial for you is very prevalent, you know, especially just not even in Compton, just all over. And since this is Compton, a Compton story, I wind up living in Compton and surrounding areas. My young adult life, I had two daughters that I had to care for, and you know, when in my early adulthood, there was the drug epidemic came in, and it really affected a lot of families. You know, with the crack cocaine, and it's just I came back from college from Washington State in 1984, and it was amazing how almost everybody I knew was affiliated with crack cocaine in some type of way. I'm talking about most of my friends, and not mentioning any names, but most of my friends, family members, was affected indirectly and directly by crack cocaine, and it wasn't a good situation, and so that really plagued the city. And, you know, lots of drug activity and gang activity and murders in the 90s, especially the early 90s. And so I was there. You know, I was going to Compton College, then I transferred to Long Beach State, and was still around the city. And when I graduated from college, actually graduated from college when I was 28 years old, and I was working for a couple of, you know, I was working jobs, couple jobs because I needed to do something for myself, but it wasn't enough money to sustain me and my children. So what happened was I had my degree and I was able to become a teacher because of the need of teachers in the city of Compton at that time. The Compton Unified School District needed teachers, so they was hiring people. And I was a part of this collection of people called the pool teachers. So we were there and we got selected to go to different schools because they expected a high rate of teachers leaving the district for whatever reasons. But I was just lucky to be around at the time and needed work. And so once I became a teacher in the city where I grew up, at the high school where I attended, I was able to work with some of my teachers, which was a very good experience. So I was a teacher, and I'm still a teacher, but it was very interesting. My first year as a teacher, I taught my first 4 years at my high school that I attended, which was a real good experience. And then I went to Long Beach for 5 years. Then I came back to Compton. So I've been back to Compton working for the Compton Unified School District since 2006, 2005, 2006. And it's been an interesting journey, you know, seeing how things work. It's 2025 now, and I'm at the end of my teaching tenure. And so overall, my experience being a Compton person, uh, I definitely took on some of the traits of the times, and it taught me a lot. It also, you know, I was doing some things I shouldn't have been doing, so it taught me uh, to do things I shouldn't have been doing. And I think that's anywhere, period. And it's just to summarize it, Compton is just like any other place to me. It's just that it got a negative it got a negative light through the gang activity and the drug culture, which was happening all over the United States at the time. It's just that it was highlighted more so in Compton because it got a reputation of being an all black town back then. But primarily, the great people come out of Compton. You know, I went to school with all kind of professionals now, doctors. I don't know of any lawyers that came out of my class. I know we have a couple of doctors that came out of my class, professional athletes, teachers, just regular people in the United States, black people. So my Compton experience has been a real one, and I'm still around. I work in Compton, and it's been a it's been a good journey for me, and I appreciate all that I went through so I could be the person that I am today. And hopefully I'm one of those people that's benefiting from the things that we do under the Community Education Network, which is self and collective improvement. And that is definitely something that we need as people and all over the world. We need to be better than what we are. So, born and raised in Compton, check. It's just like any other place. It's up to the individual to overcome any obstacles that they're faced with. And what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna conclude my little talk. That was a little brief history of Compton, my experience being a person that was born and raised in Compton. And I'm just gonna show the website and the YouTube channel. If people wanna want to use our resources of the things that we do. So let me show you the website. Here's the website, Community Education Network. This is the home page. These were the two shows we had on Wednesday and on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we have a Black Conscious Podcast Collective right here, which we have 3 other podcasts along with ours. And we have our shows. It's on YouTube. And this is where you can access the different pages we have. And then also at the top, we have the different pages. Our tutoring service is not available right now. I'm gonna get that taken down. But I'm not able to tutor people, but it's not an official business at the moment. It was. And basically it didn't really take off that much because of the time. And so anyone can access this. And let me show you the YouTube channel. Coming, coming, coming. The YouTube channel is coming. Be patient, please. Here's our YouTube channel, Community Education Network. You know, we have more videos than subscribers. But hopefully one day that'll change because I think we have a great resources on here for people. And if you have a lot to choose from, lots of videos, and it's primarily educational. And every video is educational because you can learn from it. We're rated G, so it's basically for any audience. Have a lot of resources on here A lot of different personalities, professionals, educators, and we're here and we got some shorts, got a few shorts. And I do my own shorts also, which is with the videos. A lot of shorts. Well, some shorts. Probably they're primarily reggae. Some concerts I attended, then also a few other things. So this is the Community Education Network, and we're starting another podcast series, Born and Raised in Compton. So you'll be seeing that, you know, a lot of people that if they wasn't born there, but they've been there for a while. So I'm going to sign off. We're going to take our pause like we normally do. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Signing off. Rashaki Maskani out.